personality depend on where you live? The answer is absolutely yes. And in this video, guys, we are going to talk about how personality changes according to where you live. This video is very sectorial in a sense that we're going to take into consideration only the US. But there is a premise that is true across all continents, and that is what has been established through studies of the so-called new discipline of geopsychology. Now, this is fascinating. I've worked on this academically, and it is absolutely fascinating that we can change and we can adjust personality traits. At least we can adjust momentary states of personality according to the place we are at. For instance, if you are in a bar, you tend to be more extrovert, and if you are at a library, you tend to be less extrovert and more introvert. And there are studies on how personality traits that we consider stable across a lifetime are actually changeable, right? It's not necessarily that they change drastically, right? But the idea is that momentary states over long period of time can actually influence stable personality traits. There are other studies, this is also geopsychology, but at a very granular level, right? And there are other studies that take into consideration, for instance, if you are surrounded by mountains, if you are used to dearth of resources, right? So for instance, if you live in a place like, let's say, Canada or a Scandinavian country, where traditionally there's a dearth of resources because of the climate, right? You tend to be more self-centered and you tend to be more projected towards future, and that is at least compared to people that live in other countries, right? And yes, I do hear already the comments such as, how can they really determine that? It all depends on the family, it all depends on the family you grew up in, the type of family you had, your historical background, etc. Yes, all of that is true, but on a general level, what these studies support is this idea that according to where you live, your personality change, your personality traits are slightly different. Now, there are multiple ways of measuring personality traits. It all depends on what you really want to know. For instance, there's the capital 16 factors of personality that I found absolutely fabulous, right? Because it's much more comprehensive, it's a little bit more intricate, more complex, but it works very well if you have to determine personality traits for somebody who works in the military or in business, and that is when it is mostly used. But the measurement of personality traits is the tool to measure personality traits. The most used one, at least, is called Goldberg's. It's that of Goldberg's, and it's 5 personality traits. Now, you can think of this through the acronym of OSHIN, because those are openness, C stands for conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And neuroticism is a measure of emotional stability. Conscientiousness is how much you can actually respect your duties, right? How much you can sort of follow through the work you have to do, right? Other are openness, so the ability to be open to new experience, the curiosity to know, and the willingness also to put yourself out there, right, to try different things. And then you have agreeableness, which is the measurement of how much you can actually adjust, I would say, how much you can be comfortable and in peace with other people, sort of thing. So how much you are adaptable in relationships. So interestingly, right, certain people who have certain professions score high in 1 or 2 personality traits in comparison to other people who have different jobs. So also that is something to take into consideration. But here we're gonna go back to the original question, that is where you live determines, so to speak, determines your personality. And we're gonna go here to the first point. And so the first personality trait we are going to take into consideration is that of extroversion. If you are an extrovert, you are, so to speak, the life of the party. Now, this is also not a precise and entirely precise definition of what extrovert means, right? Because if we have to think in those terms, then we should think more that an extrovert is somebody who takes energy from other people, whereas an introvert is somebody who takes energy from within, right? Who gets exhausted when the social exposure is over a certain threshold, so to speak. Right? Because we all need social interactions, right? So it's more so about the quantity. And when we think about in extroversion, right, we have to think that the highest extroverts are in Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, and Nebraska. Also, there's a pocket of extroverts that is in the Rust Belt of Ohio and Pennsylvania, and in the South in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Agreeableness. The highest in agreeableness are in the South. So we're talking about Louisiana, North Carolina, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida. And disagreeable people are most pronounced in territories that go from Montana to New Mexico, from Nevada to Kansas to Oklahoma. There's also an epicenter of grumpiness in New England. Conscientious. Conscientious people are mostly found in Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming. That's interesting, right? One should wonder why exactly. And that might depend on simply the type of jobs these people have, right? The type of industries are present in Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, which I wouldn't know anything about, so you're welcome to comment below. And last two actually points are emotional stability. So the highest emotional stability is found in western and southern parts of the country, with a dark band which is in Maine, Alabama, in the Midwest, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And then finally, we get to openness. High openness is again in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico. So guys, I want to hear actually your thoughts, right? If you live in one of those states, do you feel that this is an objective measure of how people around you, does that help you, for instance, to choose to which state you should move? I think there are more important reasons to choose that, but I want to hear your comments. Let us know, you know already what to do. Comment below if you want to, and if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We're gonna talk soon. Bye.